Sony has announced that the next PlayStation State of Play event will take place on Thursday, February 23rd at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. The February 2023 State of Play event has been rumored for some time, though it's nice that fans now have official confirmation. The event is expected to last around 45 minutes, and it will feature some looks at brand new games as well as some previously announced titles. As confirmed by Sony, the State of Play on February 23rd will reveal hit indie and third-party games, along with 5 new PlayStation VR 2 games. The headlining attraction is an extended look at Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League, the long-awaited new entry in Rocksteady's acclaimed Arkhamverse for over 15 minutes. If previous State of Play events are any indication, this latest one should be plenty exciting for fans, though it is unlikely to feature E3-level announcements, especially since Sony doesn't seem to be making any first-party reveals at the event. The State of Play on February 23rd will come one day after Sony launches its PlayStation 5 VR headset, PlayStation VR 2. Set to launch on February 22nd, PlayStation VR 2 reviews have been mostly positive so far, with many hailing it as a worthy upgrade to the original PlayStation VR headset that released for the PS4. The PlayStation VR 2 is launching with a healthy selection of launch titles, and even more are confirmed for the launch window, so it will be exciting to see what else Sony has in store for the new headset. As far as Suicide Squad: Kill the Justice League goes, the game already has a release date locked down, so it's unclear exactly what else fans will see at the State of Play. It's possible fans will get a more in-depth gameplay presentation for the long-awaited superhero game that gives them a much better idea of exactly how it plays and how its live service and co-op is implemented, but anyone interested will have to tune in to find out for sure. Like this rumor came true, I hope the PlayStation Showcase rumor is also true that is to be held this summer before E3. Speaking of E3, a high-level Ubisoft executive reveals that the French AAA game publisher intends to have a showcase at this year's E3 event in Los Angeles. This news comes not long after the confirmation that Nintendo, Sony, and Microsoft would not attend the conference, though Microsoft said it would be hosting a separate event in LA that would be convenient for those attending E3 2023. The company's CEO, Yves Guillemot, said as much when asked about E3 during Ubisoft's recent third-quarter investor call. He did not specify what the company plans to share during its E3 showcase but said, "If E3 happens, we will be there, and we will have a lot of things to show." Hopefully, this means that Ubisoft will have some big new announcements and significant updates on ongoing projects when E3 2023 takes place from June 13th to June 16th. Many Assassin's Creed fans will no doubt be eager to see what Ubisoft has to share when E3 rolls around in a few months. The publisher plans to release Assassin's Creed Mirage sometime this year. Therefore, Ubisoft may be waiting for E3 for a gameplay reveal and to announce its exact release date. There are also games like the still officially untitled Assassin's Creed Jade, Assassin's Creed Red, and Assassin's Creed Hex. The latter two are still largely mysterious, though Ubisoft has confirmed that Red takes place in Japan, and many fans believe Hex is set in the Holy Roman Empire of medieval Europe. Hopefully, Ubisoft will also have more to show regarding its long-delayed pirate game Skull and Bones. Initially revealed in 2017, developers pushed its release date back 6 times, with Ubisoft now shooting for a launch sometime in 2023 or 2024. Fans are also waiting for updates on Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, X-Defiant, and the Prince of Persia remake, any of which could appear at this year's E3. Sony allegedly adds another studio to its growing family with the acquisition of Ballistic Moon. Ballistic Moon is a Southeast England-based development studio founded by former Supermassive Games staff who worked on games such as the Until Dawn series. Companies like Sony and Microsoft are no strangers to acquiring other studios in their search for more exclusive games for their respective consoles, so this doesn't come as much of a surprise. A few of Ballistic Moon's staff have worked heavily on Until Dawn, so it's not much of a reach to see Sony take an interest in the studio. After all, Until Dawn and its spin-offs look to be staying PlayStation exclusive for the time being, and have performed well there. Perhaps, Sony has seen value in Supermassive Games products and by extension those who've worked for that studio. If the staff who are part of Ballistic Moon can recreate the magic brought about by Supermassive Games, it could mean more excellent projects in the future. In any case, financial services firm PitchBook has posted an entry about Ballistic Moon. On the page, it states that Ballistic Moons was founded in 2019 and currently has 47 employees. However, an extra detail to note is that its ownership status is labeled as acquired/merged, with its parent company labeled as Sony. While Sony's Ballistic Moon acquisition was previously just speculation, this listing proves that Sony has officially made the studio a part of its big umbrella regardless of it being a merger or an acquisition. Hopefully, this could mean more exclusives in the same vein as Until Dawn, as that game really did well on the platform. It is rumored that Ballistic Moon is working on a title called Project Bates, as several old tweets from the developer's official Twitter account indicate. Checking from the company's Twitter account, it seems that it has been hard at work with hiring staff for possible future projects, so that indicates a sign of good things to come. Hopefully, this partnership between the two bodies will lead to a fruitful relationship. Hopefully, Ballistic Moon's next project could be set at par with Supermassive Games' hits and will open more new projects for the small studio. Update 1.29 for Gran Turismo 7 is coming out very soon, featuring a suite of exciting new vehicles, the classic Grand Valley racetrack, and a few other notable technical additions that may show what the developer, Polyphony Digital, has planned for the franchise in the future. Slowly but steadily, GT7 has been filling out its already impressive roster of cars and tracks, and while the new update continues this trend, there's more to it still. It just so happens that Gran Turismo 7's Update 1.29 may be its most exciting piece of post-launch content yet, matched only by the game's previous announcement of PSVR 2 support. Namely, while the update does feature Grand Valley and a curious selection of cars, from Citroën DS21 to Italdesign Xenio variants, its most notable new feature is the introduction of GT Sophy. GT Sophy is a special AI that specializes in racing, and its development may eventually lead to far more interesting behavior in racing video games, as it's capable of self-learning, and it has already shown more than capable of beating professional sim racers in Gran Turismo. Polyphony Digital and Sony developed GT Sophy in a joint venture, having announced its existence early in 2022. Developers had previously claimed that Sophy was capable of playing competitively without resorting to cheating, which has been accomplished by leveraging various deep learning models. Sadly, this particular version of GT Sophy will only be available for a limited amount of time, exclusively via PlayStation 5. Players will have an opportunity to race against the AI in the unique Race Together event, which will be around until late March. Naturally, seeing GT Sophy in action, at last, is the most exciting aspect of Update 1.29, but the regular content that's being added to the game is a promising prospect too. Polyphony Digital recently revealed that it takes almost 300 days for a Gran Turismo 7 car to be made, which plainly shows just how much care and effort goes into each and every one of the game's vehicles. With that in mind, the only way to experience GT7 is to check it out on one of the two contemporary PlayStation consoles, and with PS5 having access both to GT Sophy and to the impressive PSVR 2 features, there's a clear winner in the equation. If you want to know more about GT Sophy, check out my video. New DLC for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has been confirmed, and players will soon be able to re-experience the 23rd World Tournament storyline from the original Dragon Ball. Released on PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in early 2020, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot retold the fabled story of Son Goku and his allies throughout the beloved Dragon Ball Z anime through a blend of RPG character development and blistering fighting game action. An upgrade for the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X was released in January of this year. Bandai has promised several DLC expansions for Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, retelling famous plotlines from other Dragon Ball films and shows. The first of these expansion packs was released in April 2020 and featured characters and transformations from 2013's Battle of Gods movie. Later Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC adapted Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F and took players to the bleak, alternate future scene in the history of Trunks and Dragon Ball Super. Finally, a third Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC pack was released last month and saw players take control of Goku's father Bardock in a prequel to the main Dragon Ball storyline. The newest Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC expansion has just been confirmed by Namco Bandai. Subtitled, Chaos at the World Tournament, this new storyline is based on Dragon Ball's World Tournament arc, which sees a teenage Goku face off against the villainous Ma Jr., or as he is more commonly known, Piccolo, during the 23rd World Tournament competition. Screenshots of Goku and Piccolo in battle were released as part of this Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC announcement, and Bandai Namco promises that more information will be revealed in this month's V-Jump magazine. So far, Dragon Ball Z Kakarot has garnered mixed reactions due to a host of technical issues that have prevented some players from upgrading to the Xbox Series X version. Not even the game's supplementary content has been immune to these setbacks, as Dragon Ball Z Kakarot's Bardock DLC reportedly has serious problems that have caused some to be locked out of the game altogether. Thankfully, it seems that developer CyberConnect 2 has addressed these problems earlier this month. Regardless, there will no doubt be plenty of gamers looking forward to the upcoming Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC, especially since it will include characters and moments from the famous World Tournament story arc. This arc featured the final battle between Goku and Piccolo before the latter's redemption in Dragon Ball Z, and will likely make for some exciting and memorable gameplay once this latest Dragon Ball Z Kakarot DLC eventually launches. American McGee, the creator of the Alice franchise, makes a plea to Electronic Arts asking for support to help make the impossible Alice Asylum happen. The story of the Alice franchise's creation over the past 20 years and more is bizarre, even for the video game industry. Yet American McGee is determined to continue the series, with Alice Asylum inching forward. Yet McGee's strange plea to Electronic Arts may belie deeper issues with making Alice Asylum a reality. It's been over a decade since the release of the most recent Alice game in the franchise, Alice Madness Returns. Like prior Alice games, Alice Madness Returns was published by IP owner Electronic Arts, but it would prove to be the final game release in the series. Despite McGee's best efforts, Alice developer Spicy Horse closed in 2016. McGee has instead turned to crowdfunding in an effort to start a new project. The latest creation stemming from McGee's lucrative Patreon has now been shared online. It's a 414-page design bible for what McGee's current project, Alice Asylum, will entail. A trailer coinciding with the design bible's release has also confirmed a development studio has partnered with McGee for Alice Asylum's creation. It's named Virtuous and is best known for support work and port development. There's just one issue, though, which is that EA still owns the Alice IP. At the end of the Alice Asylum video, McGee adds a plea to EA. EA's logo fades into view and the message, "Let's make impossible things happen together," is shown on screen. Some might assume that including EA's logo on screen implies McGee is already working with the publisher to make Alice Asylum happen. Unfortunately, it seems likely EA is entirely uninvolved at this point. On one hand, McGee has successfully made multiple Alice Asylum projects over the years. His passion for the project is real. On the other hand, the gaming industry has many examples of crowdfunding efforts failing to come to fruition, and it's possible this will be the same case. We have other successful examples like Psychonauts 2 and Hades. What can't be denied is that McGee has created both a script and a design bible for Alice Asylum. That much is true. Whether Virtuous is actually signed on to make a game or only tacitly involved in the project isn't clear. And EA's involvement, or whether it would ever be interested in returning to Alice at all, is the biggest question of all. Alice fans may want to maintain some skepticism about Alice Asylum, but I definitely want a Alice game, and it'll be great if the project gets supported by EA and gamers. Go support the studio and let's make this happen. Two key members of Firaxis Games' leadership are leaving the company, as studio head Steve Martin and Marvel's Midnight Suns director Jake Solomon confirmed their departure. It's a time of substantial transition at Firaxis Games. The studio is settling into post-launch support for Marvel's Midnight Suns and shifting toward the next Civilization game. Martin and Solomon, unfortunately, will not be a part of the next chapter of Firaxis. Firaxis Games is in a bit of a tumultuous position right now. This past week, Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick confirmed that Firaxis' new game Marvel's Midnight Suns underdelivered commercially upon launch. Zelnick hoped that the XCOM-inspired tactical game would regain some momentum with post-launch content, but was considered a flop for the time being. While Zelnick attributed some of the game's problems to launching in December alongside the Callisto Protocol and High on Life, Firaxis likely took much of the blame itself. The official Firaxis Games Twitter account confirmed the departure of studio head Steve Martin. In a short letter, Martin told Firaxis fans that he's tremendously grateful to have led his team of talented developers for so long. Further, he expressed how proud he is of the games Firaxis has made and the reputation of the studio as it is. Martin has been president and studio head of Firaxis Games since 2006, and was CFO and COO for 4 years before that. Prior to that, Martin was corporate controller and director of HR at Microprose Software, developer of the original Civilization. Solomon's announcement regarding his departure from Firaxis came via his personal Twitter account. Solomon says that he fulfilled his lifelong dreams making XCOM, XCOM 2, and Marvel's Midnight Suns, and that he's the luckiest kid who ever lived. He thanks Sid Meier, his Firaxis teammates through the years, and 2K for supporting his efforts. Solomon had been with Firaxis for 23 years, starting in a programming position working on Civilization 3. The future for both former Firaxis leaders is unclear. Martin makes no mention of what he's planning to do next, saying only that he'll be cheering Firaxis on. Solomon's plans will be more interesting to fans of XCOM and Marvel's Midnight Suns. He says that his brain is on fire with a new dream that he'll be chasing. Firaxis decided to deliver the bad news alongside some good, announcing that the next Civilization game is currently in development. Former Firaxis COO Heather Hazen will be stepping into the role of studio head, while Civilization 6 director Ed Beach will be continuing as creative director for Firaxis' next Civilization game. Of all the Souls-likes currently in development, Lies of P certainly seems to be one of the most intriguing. The game's Belle Époque setting offers a unique take on the tale of Pinocchio, in which players become the titular puppet as they roam automaton-infested streets. One look at any of the footage released so far makes it easy to see why Lies of P has drawn Bloodborne comparisons. And if this game turns out to be even half as good as From Software's 2015 PS4 exclusive, it should be considered a success. Despite development being in the final stages as of November 2022, the recent IGN Fan Fest revealed that Lies of P has an August release window, which makes sense considering the first half of 2023's busy release schedule. So far, Forspoken, Dead Space, and Hogwarts Legacy have already been released, with more big games arriving imminently including Like a Dragon, Ishin, and Wolong, Fallen Dynasty. For developer NeoWiz, it makes perfect sense to ensure Lies of P isn't released amid all of these huge titles, and this will hopefully mean the final version has an appropriate amount of polish. Sometimes a little extra time in the oven can make all the difference to the state of a game on release. When NeoWiz announced that Lies of P's development was nearing its end last November, many fans expected the game's release to follow imminently. However, the game stuck by its tentative 2023 release window for a while. The new trailer, which mainly showcased more of the game's monstrous enemies, gave fans an August window that is a little further out than some expected. On the surface, there may be a couple of valid reasons for this, with the game simply not being ready for launch even if its core content is complete. The dangers of releasing a game in an unfinished state are obvious, with the disastrous launch of Cyberpunk 2077 standing as one of the biggest examples thus far. Perhaps NeoWiz wants to be absolutely certain that the game is ready, meaning there will be almost no chance of unwanted bugs, glitches, or performance issues on launch. This is a commendable approach, and given the number of games that have launched with issues over the last few years since the COVID-19 pandemic took effect, it is likely one that fans will almost certainly welcome. That being said, the reason could possibly be strategic. The Souls-like genre is popular and more competitive than ever in a post-Elden Ring world, and Lies of P could be biding its time for a quieter period to launch. Team Ninja's Wolong Fallen Dynasty and Respawn Entertainment's Star Wars Jedi Survivor are both set to launch in the next few months. The anticipated Hollow Knight Silksong is also expected to arrive before June, but its release date is similarly not confirmed. Either way, the first half of 2023 is certainly primed to be an exciting one for fans of Souls-likes. As the year progresses, the video game release list will diversify, and other upcoming Souls-likes such as the Lords of the Fallen do not have specific release dates either. This should give Lies of P the perfect opportunity to solidify its own launch in August, and ensure its eventual release is not overshadowed by other entries in a genre that is in danger of being overcrowded. Hogwarts Legacy developer Avalanche Software says that it has no plans to release any post-launch content for the Harry Potter game, despite its initial success. It's perhaps unsurprising then that Avalanche Software is now confirming that the studio is unsure at this point whether it will be releasing any post-launch content for Hogwarts Legacy. Speaking with IGN as part of its Fan Fest event, game director Alan Tu said explicitly there are no current plans for Hogwarts Legacy DLC. As an explanation, Tu says that Avalanche has been busy bringing Hogwarts Legacy to life. The statement from Tu doesn't necessarily mean that Hogwarts Legacy won't receive any DLC in time. That there are no current plans for Hogwarts Legacy DLC doesn't mean that Avalanche Software won't make plans soon. As Tu said, the studio has been busy, but now it has time to think about what's next. Hogwarts Legacy will still receive robust post-launch support addressing performance issues and quality-of-life problems, of course. And Avalanche Software and Portkey Games is by no means disconnecting itself from its work on the Harry Potter franchise. Major projects like Hogwarts Legacy, especially successful projects, rarely go without robust post-launch DLC. The possibility of Hogwarts Legacy eventually getting DLC or an expansion certainly remains, of course. It's perhaps even likely, regardless of whether Avalanche Software takes issue with continuing to work on Harry Potter or not. Harry Potter remains a massively successful franchise, Avalanche and Portkey Games done a great with Hogwarts Legacy, and I'm all pumped up for a sequel and a DLC, give my everything. Popular horror movie production company Blumhouse is officially entering the gaming industry. Known for renowned horror hits like Get Out, Paranormal Activity, and Megan, Blumhouse announced that it's opening up a new gaming division under Blumhouse Games that will be home to upcoming indie titles. The horror genre has gained some renewed interest over the past few months, most recently thanks to Megan, a movie that exceeded box office expectations during its opening weekend. The video game industry also saw new life in horror with releases like Resident Evil 2 Remake and PT, along with franchises like Five Nights at Freddy's getting the movie treatment. So it may not be surprising to see one of the biggest production companies in the horror genre opting to dive into the video game world. According to the company, the new division is set up as Blumhouse Games, and it will look at original horror games for PC, console, and mobile. The idea is to operate as a publisher where Blumhouse will work with indie developers on projects that will cost less than $10 million. The division's creative sector will be overseen by Zach Wood, who has worked on more than 30 games, and Don Seckler, a PlayStation veteran who will run finance and operations. In a move that's similar to Annapurna's expansion into games, Blumhouse expects to invest in about 15 games over the next 3 to 4 years with a $25 million budget for each slate. So, they are going to be on the AA budget side. Blumhouse already looked at gaming before, via a partnership with Universal Pictures, the same company that releases a majority of Blumhouse's titles. Universal made attempts to get game studios to turn some of Blumhouse's properties like The Purge into games, unfortunately to no avail. The Blumhouse Games announcement indicates the company is making another effort, though seemingly with a focus on original games as opposed to exclusively basing titles off its movies. With developers like Bloober Team previously stating that they hope to become the Blumhouse of gaming, it will be interesting to see how Blumhouse itself gains ground in the industry. As of now, Blumhouse Games is yet to announce any partners or prospective games. So it's unclear if the likes of Megan will get the video game treatment anytime soon. While it's already the biggest horror movie producer in Hollywood, Blumhouse is currently in talks to merge with Atomic Monster, a production house headed by James Wan. Now, with the company venturing into video games, it appears the next few years will be interesting for horror fans. Embracer Group has published its financial report for Q3 FY 2022, which is the 3 months ended December 31, 2022, and we have tons of information on games coming from them. Net sales increased by 128% to $1.1 billion, up 128% year-on-year, but down 3% in organic growth, and net profit reaches $141 million. In its comments about the quarter, CEO Lars Wingefors noted that Q3 was stable and in line with management expectations. The decrease in organic growth was due to fewer new releases both on PC and console as well as tough year-on-year comparisons, he said, pointing to delays announced in previous quarters as well. He also noted a mixed reception for titles launched throughout the year and generally that consumers are spending less, especially when compared to pandemic years 2020 and 2021. Goat Simulator 3 was mentioned as the primary sales driver for the quarter among Embracer's new releases. Windforce noted that Embracer expects more third-party funding as well as additional deals to close by the end of the financial year. He said that partnerships like the one it signed with Amazon Games to make a Tomb Raider game are jointly transformative. As the firm looks to bolster its partnership approach, it's appointed Karine Yap as Chief Strategic Partnerships Officer. Yap previously had been managing advisor at consulting firm the Games and Entertainment Management Group for over a decade. Embracer has invested $160 million in game development during the quarter, the report further showed, which is part of the firm's long-term strategy to increase organic growth. It also reflects a deliberate shift from co-publishing and work-for-hire projects towards internal development projects for certain operative groups, as well as the operative group Crystal Dynamics, Eidos being consolidated for its first full quarter, the report further read. The number of game developers at Embracer has grown to 11,152 during Q3 FY 2022, compared to 7,824 in the same quarter the previous year. The number of projects has also gone from 216 to 224, which includes 31 AAA titles. 19 of these AAA projects are due to launch before March 2026. Out of the 224 projects, 94 are games for FY 23 to 24, 58 of which are unannounced. A newly surfaced report narrowed down the possible release date of the Metro Exodus sequel. This insider account arrives mere weeks after 4A Games made the Exodus SDK engine free for modders, in addition to reaffirming that the new Metro game is still in development. The fourth installment in the acclaimed FPS franchise based on Russian author Dmitry Glukhovsky's best-selling book Metro 2033 has been in the works for at least 3 years. 4A Games originally confirmed its existence back in 2020, but has provided precious little information on the project ever since. The last official bit of actual news about the title dates back to that original communication, when the studio said the new Metro game will be a multiplayer-focused experience. According to industry sources, the Metro Exodus sequel has been progressing quite nicely since then and is already in a fully playable state. Taking that statement at face value, the timing of this leak makes sense, as reaching a playable pre-alpha build is usually when developers start extensive playtesting. That task is often outsourced, but even when it isn't, it requires bringing more people into the loop, which increases the likelihood of leaks. Either way, this turn of events suggests the game might be targeting a tentative summer 2024 release window, the report concludes. The sequel to Metro Exodus will presumably be published by Deep Silver owned by Embracer Group, given 4A Games' long-standing collaboration with the Austrian company dating back to the 2013 Metro Last Light. Embracer Group has announced that there are currently 5 Lord of the Rings games in development that are expected to launch within the next couple of years. Last year, Embracer bought the IP rights to Lord of the Rings after the group's subsidiary Freemode acquired Middle-earth Enterprises. The recent announcement of its 5 gaming projects suggests that the company may have big plans around the franchise, particularly in the video game space. Of course, games based on Lord of the Rings are nothing new, with titles varying from War in Middle-earth to LEGO Lord of the Rings. Among those numerous offerings, 2014's Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor and its sequel Shadow of War are widely considered to be one of the best from the IP, with the former even introducing its novel Nemesis system. Now, with Lord of the Rings under the helm of Embracer, the group appears to be keen on capitalizing on the franchise's massive popularity. In its latest earnings report for the third quarter of 2022, Embracer Group stated that there are currently 5 Lord of the Rings games in the works through external partners. The group also mentioned that all of these titles will release by the end of the 2023-24 financial year, which means fans will get to experience all 5 games within the next 24 months. While Embracer hasn't listed the titles specifically, 4 of the Lord of the Rings titles have already been announced, most notably Daedalic Entertainment's Lord of the Rings Gollum that's scheduled to release in 2023. Alongside Daedalic, other upcoming projects include the Lord of the Rings Return to Moria from Free Range Games, a mobile game from EA, as well as a title from Weta Workshop. This essentially means another Lord of the Rings is in development that's yet to be announced. While it remains to be seen what form the unannounced Lord of the Rings will take, many fans may be paying close attention to Daedalic's Gollum. Dubbed a third-person action-adventure RPG, the Golem-centric game is slated for a 2023 launch. However, it has already been delayed several times since the announcement in 2019, and now fans wonder if Lord of the Rings Gollum will suffer the same fate as Skull and Bones. Even so, the fact that there are 5 game projects already underway is a promising sign for many who craved another entry after 2017's Shadow of War. But games aren't the only Lord of the Rings property that's on the way. There's also a new anime movie, The Lord of the Rings: The War of the Rohirrim, which will feature Miranda Otto reprising her Eowyn character along with the second season of Amazon's Rings of Power series. All in all, it appears fans will be no short of Lord of the Rings content for the next couple of years. Rumors are suggesting that the future of the Saints Row franchise is in jeopardy. The Saints Row franchise has had a rocky few years, and it seems that may finally have caught up to Volition's open-world games. The Saints Row franchise initially emerged as a competitor to Grand Theft Auto, although it quickly became apparent to players that Saints Row's zany tone was wildly different from Rockstar's more serious offering. With every subsequent release, Saints Row turned up the crazy, with each game moving further and further away from reality. However, this did allow the series to carve out its niche among the best open-world games, building up a dedicated fan base. There was a section of the community that felt the games had gone too far with their craziness, although Volition did its best to embrace this in the newer entries, to varying degrees of success. The news that Saints Row may be put to rest comes after the Saints Row reboot flopped both commercially and critically. Fans criticized the dated graphics, poor mechanics, and even worse writing as particular flaws that led to it being an unpleasant experience for players. Before the reboot, the last game in the series was Saints Row Gat Out of Hell in 2015. Again, this was not well received by critics. Before this was 2013's Saints Row 4, which for some fans is seen as the point the games jumped the shark. Many players out there would make the argument that the franchise has not seen a good game since 2011's Saints Row 3, which is why some may not be surprised by this recent news. It would appear that the troubles of the Saints Row reboot have changed how IP owner Embracer Group is greenlighting games going forward. In their Q3 2022 financial report released a week ago, the company revealed that the underwhelming performance of console and PC titles has meant a change in approach, and each project has to earn its right to exist, leaving huge question marks over the future of Saints Row. It would be a shame to see the series disappear, as Grand Theft Auto needs a viable competitor, though it seems that audiences have made their choice. Even 1 month after release, the Saints Row reboot was outsold by a decade-old Grand Theft Auto 5. It was only a few months ago that the debate raged on about whether the Saints Row reboot would receive DLC. In light of these new developments, this now seems extremely unlikely. If the franchise is taken away from Volition, it's unknown what the studio will develop next. Its last non-Saints Row effort, Agents of Mayhem, was critically panned across the board. However, the company does still have the Red Faction series, which has laid dormant since 2011. It's very possible it looks to the past once again to try and revive its future. Fans of Capcom's Dead Rising games have discovered a treasure trove of concept art and video from the cancelled Dead Rising 5, letting gamers see what would have awaited them in the series' 5th outing. Although the franchise made an appearance in 2021 as part of a Dead Rising and Tekken crossover, there hasn't been a numbered Dead Rising game since 2016's decidedly lackluster Dead Rising 4. Capcom's zombie-filled franchise debuted with 2006's wildly successful Dead Rising, which put players into the shoes of photojournalist Frank West as he tries to fight his way through hordes of zombies while contending with a colorful cast of sometimes crazed survivors inside a Colorado mall. The Xbox 360 title was praised for the massive numbers of enemies that could be displayed on screen and for the unique, often humorous ways that Frank West could dispatch the zombie hordes with a variety of improvised weapons. Subsequent entries in the franchise moved away from the lighter and more comedic tone of the first game, becoming increasingly grim, with the series going on hiatus after Dead Rising 5's troubled development led to that game's cancellation. While gamers may never get the chance to take on Dead Rising 5's legions of undead opponents, they can now get a better look at what the game would have had in store for them thanks to new screenshots and video of the title found by franchise fans. discovered on the portfolio page of a former technical level designer on the title. The cache of clips and screenshots shows Dead Rising 2 protagonist Chuck Green fighting his way through jungle and city environments that appear to be set in Central or South America. Gamers can click here to see a short video of Chuck fighting swarms of zombies, interacting with NPCs, and even doing battle with some sort of scythe-wielding enemy type. This collection of never-before-seen assets for the cancelled title shows a game with a seemingly lighter tone far more in keeping with the original Dead Rising games than the decidedly divisive, grimdark sequels. In addition to a new setting and new enemy types, the portfolio reveals that Dead Rising 5 would have featured a more streamlined loot system. While zombie fans can still count on titles like Capcom's Resident Evil 4 remake to deliver some undead scares, this new media shows that the publisher's other high-profile zombie franchise may have still had some life left in it. For gamers still stinging from the cancellation of Dead Rising 5, these teases of what could have been may be bittersweet. And although gamers won't be able to step into the world of Dead Rising again anytime soon, upcoming zombie MMO the day before may deliver some of the undead bashing thrills they've been missing out on. The dates and matches for EVO 2023 have been announced, with the highlight being Street Fighter's debut. The Evolution Championship Series, also known as EVO, is one of the most famous events in esports. This year Street Fighter 6 will be part of the exciting tournaments that attract fans from all over the world. EVO was among the many events affected by the pandemic, which led to the Capcom Cup 2020 cancellation. In 2021 tournaments were held online as a preventive measure because of the pandemic, but last year fans had a lot to celebrate. EVO announced the much-awaited return in-person competition. EVO 2023 will take place August 4th to 6th at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, the traditional venue that usually hosts the event. This year fans will have the returns of Guilty Gear Strive, Dragon Ball FighterZ, Tekken 7, King of Fighters 15, Melty Blood Type Lumina, and Mortal Kombat 11 Ultimate to look forward to, all of which were on the lineup for EVO 2022. What's new for EVO 2023 is the Street Fighter 6 debut, which will also be the official Capcom Pro Tour 2023 game. Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, a title much loved for being part of EVO's history, is also making a return. Fans will soon focus their attention on EVO Japan as well. The EVO spin-off had its first edition held in 2018, bringing the thrilling matches of its Western counterpart to Japan. This year's EVO Japan will take place between March 31st and April 2nd, with a lineup of 8 main games, most notably Granblue Fantasy Versus and Virtual Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. In addition to tournaments and potential game announcements, EVO Japan 2023 will mark the start of the Tekken 8 closed alpha test. EVO's return to the in-person format was celebrated, as the fighting game tournament experience is arguably superior this way. Fighting game events are famous for tournaments with an exciting atmosphere and competitive rivalries between players. The announcement of the games for the second in-person EVO after the pandemic should get fighting game fans excited. EVO tournaments are always highly anticipated by players who participate in person, and by the thousands of fans who watch the live broadcasts. Capcom has announced the return of the Capcom Pro Tour, CPT, in 2023 with a grand prize pool and Street Fighter 6 debut. Each year the Capcom Pro Tour brings together Street Fighter fans from around the world. With a series of thrilling tournaments, this time Street Fighter 6 will be the star of the Capcom Pro Tour, and the next Capcom Cup, the Capcom Cup 2022, recently came to an end, defining the champion and the best Street Fighter 5 player in the world. The Latin American fans are celebrating, as Saul Bandits Mina won the title and became the first 2-time Capcom Cup champion, beating big names like Derek Xsetiadom, Ruffin and Yusuke Momochi. A prominent name in the Street Fighter competitive world, Menard outclassed his opponents by playing Birdie, his signature character, and Luke. The tournament became even more symbolic as Street Fighter V's farewell to Capcom Cup. At the Capcom Cup 2022 award ceremony, Capcom officially announced the Capcom Pro Tour 2023. One of the biggest parts of the announcement is the over $2 million prize pool, with $1 million going to first place. The circuit will have a mix of online and offline events and will feature Street Fighter 6 as the exclusive game. The schedule for the Capcom Pro Tour has not yet been released, but the expectation is to include the traditional appearance at EVO. Every year the world's biggest fighting game tournaments bring together fans of traditional franchises like Street Fighter, Tekken, and King of Fighters, with exciting matches and game announcements. While Capcom has not revealed additional information about Capcom Pro Tour 2023, the attention of Street Fighter fans turns to EVO 2023. This Tuesday the EVO 2023 lineup will be revealed, announcing the main stage games and the side tournaments. In addition to the potential Street Fighter 6 debut, there is an expectation that EVO may be the place of another big moment, the end of Tekken 7's successful run in competitive fighting games. The Capcom Pro Tour return is exciting not only for the big prize pool announced but also for the return to normalcy. Street Fighter Competitive has had a tough time because of the pandemic, including the cancellation of Capcom Cup 2020 and the move to online tournaments. In a year with Street Fighter 6, Tekken 8, and other titles promising big thrills, it's a good time for fighting games to be impactful again. Speaking of Street Fighter 6, Udon Entertainment and Capcom reveal the covers and reveal the release date for the upcoming Street Fighter 6 prequel comics. The next mainline entry in the long-running fighting game franchise is one of Capcom's most anticipated releases for this summer, alongside other heavy hitters like Final Fantasy XVI and Diablo 4. To promote the next entry and provide context for the game's story, Udon Entertainment and Capcom are teaming up again to produce a set of Street Fighter 6 comics that directly tie into the events of the game. Udon Entertainment and Capcom have frequently worked together before, providing art for several games, as well as expanding the lore of the franchise through these comics. In this case, the developers provided Udon with the script and storyline of the events before Street Fighter 6, likely in order to make sure neither medium contradicts each other. With the game hitting store shelves this June, Udon has revealed the comics' release schedule and the covers for each issue. The first issue of these comics will be released on May 6, 2023, which is Free Comic Book Day. It is being referred to as Issue 0 and will focus on many of the new and returning characters to the game. This includes a fight between both Kimberly and Yuri, with Luke training his special forces. After that, the Street Fighter 6 prequel comics will follow a weekly release schedule, releasing throughout the month of May on the 10th, 17th, 24th, and then the 31st. While the first issue has a bunch of variant covers, issues #2-4 will have only A and B variant covers. The artists for these covers range from Udon artists like Panzer to Capcom artists like Ben Gus. There is also a special set of unique covers that star Street Fighter 6 newcomer Kimberly for the first issue, which will be sold exclusively through the online Udon store. These two exclusive covers are drawn by Reich, with the first one costing $20 and the second costing $50. The second cover is both an exclusive and limited stock cover, showing Kimberly sporting a summer-appropriate attire, and will be limited to 250 copies. Other issues of the covers feature a number of members from the roster, including veteran faces like Chun-Li, Guile, and Ken. This set of prequel comics will be focused on Ken's story in Street Fighter 6, where the iconic martial artist is on the run after being framed by the Mad Gear Gang, forced to leave his family behind. It's also going to feature Luke in a prominent role according to previous solicitations provided. These comics should be a good read for fans in the lead-up to the game's release in June. While Street Fighter and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles both started in 1987, they've taken different paths until a new comic book series that is bringing the two together in an incredible crossover. Though the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have appeared multiple times in the fighting genre that the Capcom series broke ground in, the characters have never been in a Street Fighter game, but this comic will smash the universes together. No strangers to dabbling with popular intellectual property, IDW Publishing recently confirmed that a new series will cross over the universes of Street Fighter and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. The Ninja Turtles have been prominent brawlers in games of the past, with the four of them featured in DC fighting game Injustice 2, and a fighting game inspired by the 1980s cartoon made for the Super Nintendo. While Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Tournament Fighters saw success on the SNES, so did multiple Street Fighter titles, which caused many fans to wonder if the two would ever cross over, which is finally coming to fruition. According to IDW, the Street Fighter and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic will be a 5-issue miniseries, and it kicks off in May. The miniseries will be illustrated by Ariel Metal, colored in by Sarah Meyer, and penned by Paul Aller, and it begins with the four turtles and new addition Jenica attending a martial arts tournament in Atlantic City. Aller is known for his work on other successful comic series like Samurai Jack Lost Worlds, Deviations, and Godzilla Rivals, while Metal made art for The Unbeatables and Spider Squirrel. And Meyer has colored multiple IDW projects in her time there. IDW has teased a fight between Street Fighter's Guile and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles' Raphael, but none of the remaining Atlantic City bouts have been revealed. Although the Ninja Turtles are normally based out of New York City, the Street Fighter crew is from around the world and doesn't feel out of place at an Atlantic City tournament. The Street Fighter characters confirmed for the miniseries include Chun-Li, Ken, Ryu, and the aforementioned Military Man, while the new Turtle Jenica will be part of the TMNT roster. While the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have crossed over with things like Archie and Power Rangers, IDW has also handled popular franchises and created its own interesting collaborative projects. IDW has brought together Rick and Morty with Dungeons & Dragons and has made comic series based on intellectual property like My Little Pony, Transformers, G.I. Joe, Star Trek, and more. PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium subscribers have a total of 17 games they can claim later this month, including 4 classic games. Of course, fans also have the PS Plus free games for February 2023 to claim, which makes for a great month in conjunction. These titles are Evil Dead the Game, OlliOlli World, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, and Mafia, Definitive Edition. PS Plus users subscribed to the Extra or Premium tiers get quite a bit more every month, as proven by this new selection of games. They will become available on February 21st and remain on the game catalog for an undetermined amount of time. Fans don't have to rush, but there's plenty here to dive into regardless. PS Plus Extra games for February 2023 include Horizon Forbidden West, The Quarry, Resident Evil 7, Outriders, Scarlet Nexus, Borderlands 3, Tekken 7, Ace Combat 7, Earth Defense Force 5, Anunnaki, Lost Sphere, I Am Setsuna, and The Forgotten City. They will be joined by 4 new games for PS Plus Premium, which include PS1 titles Legend of Dragoon, Wild Arms 2, and Harvest Moon Back to Nature, as well as a PS4 version of Destroy All Humans. What's interesting here is the addition of Horizon Forbidden West. Sony has been open in the past about how it wouldn't add exclusive titles on day one, but it poses the question of if it will add games roughly a year after launch, as with Horizon Forbidden West here. However, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is not yet on the service and has been out longer, so it's hard to say. Perhaps the difference comes down to Horizon Forbidden West's upcoming Burning Shores DLC, as well as the upcoming PSVR 2 release of Horizon Call of the Mountain, since Ratchet & Clank hasn't had any major developments like this since the last release. Either way, it seems PS Plus subscribers are in for a real treat right now. Generally speaking, March tends to be the best PS Plus month every year, but between the free game selection and these new extra and premium games, it seems February might be going after March's crown. Sony has announced its new Festival of Play for PlayStation Plus. In this new event, PS Plus subscribers will be able to gain discounts and special rewards in loyalty programs, as well as enjoy a free game trial. PlayStation 5 owners who do not participate in the program will get the opportunity to play online for free, try their luck in a contest, and participate in tournaments. PlayStation Plus is Sony's subscription program, which offers hundreds of PS4 and PS5 games for gamers every month, besides allowing them to play online. The program comes with different plans, including Essential, Extra, and Premium. These different tiers offer unique perks, such as cloud storage, exclusive content, and more, like the PlayStation Plus Collection. The PlayStation Plus Festival of Play is starting right now and will continue until February 24th. Today, premium or deluxe subscribers of the program will get the opportunity to test the new God of War Ragnarok for 3 hours. Another highlight of the festival is the unique digital collectibles available in the PlayStation Stars campaign, the PS5's loyalty program. Finally, subscribers can also participate in the double discount promotion, which will allow them to get games with more discounts if they are PS Plus members. However, even people who do not own a subscription to PS Plus can engage in a few activities during the event. Anyone who owns a PlayStation Network account can enter a contest in which players can answer questions about the brand and get the chance to win a Sony Bravia XR OLED 55A75K TV, Dolby Atmos Soundbar HT A5000, or WH-1000XM5 wireless noise-canceling headphones. Also, non-subscribers can play online multiplayer games during the weekend, which will also get special online tournaments. According to Sony, these tournaments will feature games such as NBA 2K23, Guilty Gear, and the very popular FIFA 23. The festival is part of a larger effort to get more players to Sony's subscription model, PlayStation Plus. By allowing gamers to play online and participate in tournaments, it's expected that at least a few of them may subscribe. And that's all for the video, guys. Like and share the video for a greater audience. Comment your thoughts on the topics, and donations are always appreciated. Subscribe to the channel and click the bell icon, and until then, from SMPV, it's goodbye.